Since The Big Bang Theory is one of the most successful TV shows ever, it has millions of loyal fans. Those dedicated fans tend to know facts, like Craig Ferguson had an unofficial cameo, Johnny Galecki dated Sheldon's mom on another show, and Jim Parsons adored a guest star. However, The Big Bang Theory also faced a backlash, including when Bert Kreischer insulted the show and when Joe Rogan was confused by the show's success. Despite Joe Rogan telling Macaulay Culkin he was lucky he passed on The Big Bang Theory, the show was such a mammoth success that it spawned 2 spin-offs. However, even fans of the show's first spin-off, Young Sheldon, have a major complaint about that show. Thankfully, the second spin-off, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, can fix that fan complaint. When plans for Georgie and Mandy's first marriage were announced, it was instantly clear that at least 2 young Sheldon characters were sticking around. However, the thing that nobody could have known about Georgie and Mandy's first marriage was that it would feature appearances by so many of young Sheldon's main characters. During the first season of Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, the show featured appearances by most of young Sheldon's former stars. On top of Montana Jordan and Emily Osment, the show also featured Zoe Perry, Annie Potts, Craig T. Nelson, Reagan Revord, Matt Hobby, and even Lance Barber. Since Lance returned as George Cooper even though his character died during Young Sheldon, it seems like the doors are wide open. Considering that it seems like almost any character from the previous show might show up, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage could give fans closure on Young Sheldon's biggest problem. During the second season of Young Sheldon, viewers were introduced to a character that was Sheldon's intellectual equal, Paige Swanson. Instantly set up to be someone who loved to compete and beat Sheldon, it was very obvious that Paige had a lot of potential as a character. Thanks to how entertaining Paige's interactions with Sheldon were, she was brought back to the show several times. According to IMDb, Paige appeared in 9 episodes of Young Sheldon. Now that Young Sheldon has ended, it seems like fans won't get any more updates on what happened to Sheldon's intellectual rival. However, thanks to the fact that Young Sheldon got a spin-off, fans could still get some closure on Paige as a character. Since Paige was introduced as a character during Young Sheldon, The Big Bang Theory doesn't reveal what happened to the character. As a result, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage has the potential to tell the definitive story of what happened to Paige after the events of Young Sheldon. Since the actor who portrays Paige, McKenna Grace, has gone on to be a movie and TV star, she may not want to appear during a Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage episode. However, Paige appearing on-screen isn't necessary for Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage to give an update on her. Instead, one of the characters from Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage could simply state that there were headlines about Paige. Either that or one of the characters could state that they were using a groundbreaking product that was created by Paige. In short, there are several different options that Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage's writers could use to reveal Paige's fate. When Young Sheldon first debuted, it promised to be a unique blend of comedy and heart, a prequel to The Big Bang Theory that would explore the early life of Sheldon Cooper, the quirkiest genius in modern sitcom history. But while the series delivered in laughs and nostalgia, it's long suffered from one persistent issue: a growing disconnect from the established canon of The Big Bang Theory. Fans have voiced their frustrations for years about continuity errors, unexplored relationships, and timelines that just don't quite add up. Now, in a twist of narrative brilliance, Young Sheldon may finally have found its saving grace in the form of Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage. Yes, first marriage. It might seem like a simple romantic plotline at first glance, but in reality, their union could be the thread that finally ties Young Sheldon back to its roots and mends the fractures that have alienated longtime Big Bang Theory fans. Here's how. The canon conflict, a long-standing frustration. One of the most common fan complaints about Young Sheldon has always been its loose interpretation of Big Bang Theory canon. In The Big Bang Theory, adult Sheldon recounts a childhood filled with trauma, awkwardness, and distance from his family. He often paints his father, George Sr., as a drunk and a cheater. He rarely mentions his older brother Georgie with fondness, and his twin sister Missy is portrayed as someone he barely kept in touch with. Yet in Young Sheldon, George Sr. is a complex, loving father. Georgie, though rough around the edges, has grown into a fan-favorite character with depth and vulnerability. The show has spent 7 seasons developing the Coopers into a tight-knit, emotionally rich family, one that doesn't quite line up with Sheldon's recollections. The question has haunted fans. Is young Sheldon rewriting history, or are Sheldon's memories just that unreliable? Enter Georgie and Mandy. Georgie and Mandy, the unexpected heart of the show. What started as a side plot quickly became one of the most compelling arcs in young Sheldon. Georgie, the rebellious teenage brother, finds himself in a relationship with Mandy, an older woman who initially wanted nothing to do with him. But the unexpected pregnancy, the push and pull of their dynamic, and Georgie's evolution into a loving father figure shifted everything. Audiences responded. Georgie and Mandy gave the show a storyline that felt both grounded and transformative. Through them, we watched a once irresponsible teen grow up overnight. Georgie's clumsy but sincere efforts to be a good dad and partner brought out the best of young Sheldon's dramatic capabilities. Now, as the show heads toward its final, it's been revealed that Georgie and Mandy are preparing to marry, at least once. Yes, their first marriage is being teased, implying this might not be the only time they walk down the aisle. And that's where the magic lies. A do-over for Georgie, bridging 2 worlds. One of the most confusing elements in The Big Bang Theory was Georgie's backstory. Adult Sheldon speaks of his brother with a mix of annoyance and pity, describing him as a tire salesman who never really got his life together. But young Sheldon's version of Georgie is far more complex, ambitious, emotionally intelligent, and genuinely trying to build a family. So how do we reconcile the two? The answer lies in the fallout of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. If the couple's early marriage begins full of hope, but eventually crumbles under the weight of youth, miscommunication, and emotional baggage, it opens the door to an eventual separation. This would explain Sheldon's adult memories of a distant or dysfunctional brother. But it also gives the writers an opportunity to redeem Georgie later, perhaps through a second marriage or a matured rekindling with Mandy. By presenting Georgie as someone who did struggle, who did make mistakes, and who did grow from them, the show can finally make sense of Sheldon's narrative in The Big Bang Theory, while still honoring the nuanced portrayal we've grown to love in young Sheldon. It's a rare chance to fix continuity without erasing what came before. Mandy is the key to Cooper family dynamics. Mandy's presence also offers an important storytelling function. She's the outsider who becomes an insider. As someone who wasn't raised in the Cooper household, she provides a lens through which we can see the cracks forming. In young Sheldon, we've seen the family rally together during crises, Mimo's gambling trouble, George Sr.'s health issues, and Sheldon's growing eccentricities. But Mandy's perspective allows us to watch how those dynamics actually feel to someone not conditioned to accept them. Through her, we might start to see the emotional drift that eventually separates Georgie from the rest of the family. Maybe she grows tired of Georgie prioritizing his family's needs over hers. Maybe she sees the early signs of dysfunction that Sheldon later focuses on. Maybe she wants something different for their daughter, Cece. If Mandy becomes the voice of realism and tension, her eventual departure, either from Georgie or the family unit, can be the trigger that shatters the fragile illusion of family unity. It's heartbreaking, yes, but it's honest, and it creates a canon-consistent path forward. The Bigger Picture, a show about more than Sheldon.